Combat sports fans, it's time for Strong Style, Impact Media's weekly dive off the top rope into the world of mixed martial arts. I am your host, Jeremy the Impact York. Welcome in. Lots to get to, lots we want to talk about. Let's throw this out there. If you want to follow this show and or any of our other non-hockey content, go over to our YouTube page, impact underscore media underscore, and you'll find all of our content there. If you're a hockey slash rugby fan, want to catch our content, mostly hockey right now, go to Board Check 99. That is the YouTube channel just for hockey and occasionally rugby. So I want to throw those out there. Make sure to leave us a question, comment, suggestion, rating, review. Remember, I'm going to throw that out there. I did it on the hockey show last night. If you I tell you what, I'm going to make you go to my content. Go to my Instagram page, The Impact 99. Go to there was a handful of sections. Go to the section from the Mucha Lucha ATL show from last week, and in the comments of this show, make you go there and then come back. In the comments of this show, or if you've already seen them and you know the answer to this, in the pictures that I posted, I got to meet not only one of my favorite WoW superheroes, but one of the better WoW superheroes currently in women wrestling. I'm right there in the picture with them. Tell me in the comments under this show who that is that I'm in the picture with. And of all the correct entries, I'll send you something. I'll be honest, I got another. Where's this thing at? You like the PFL? It's a brand new hat. Want to see it's a brand new hat? Wow, wow. What? I'm not sure what happened there. Okay. See that? Still got the cardboard in it. I'll send somebody that hat if you tell me which WoW superhero I met at the Mucha Lucha ATL show and took a picture with. Now, honestly, I only met one. Happened to be one of my favorite, which is always a bonus to me. But tell me who it is in the comments. And of all the correct entries, I'll send you that hat. That hat right there. Never been worn. I'll sell it to you. I'll sell it to you. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you for free. I'll cover the postage. Or if you're local, I'll drop it off. It's that easy. It's that easy, folks. I'm not just doing this to clear stuff away from here because trust me, there's a lot of good stuff around here. Maybe I'll start doing that. But let's do that. Tell me who it is underneath here in the comments. Without further ado, let's get into some fun stuff because my goodness, the UFC's got stuff this weekend. PFL Bellator's got stuff this weekend. I'm going to start with the PFL. We're not going to talk any Raw or SmackDown on this show because what is today? Wednesday. On Thursday, tomorrow night, me and Daniel Snyder from our NFL playoff series of shows that we did earlier this year, he is going to co-host the Fabulous Wrestling Talk WWE version where we are going to preview the entire WrestleMania card. And then more than likely next Thursday, we are going to review it and tell you what you need to know about it, what we liked about it, things like that. That's a brand new series of shows. You know, we did the Fabulous Wrestling Talk AEW a couple weeks ago with Clay. Going to do more of those coming up because they've got a show in a couple weeks. But yeah, you're going to see that on Thursday. We might have some guests. Might never know. You want to tune in. For one, Daniel's got amazing insight. And two, we have a lot of fun talking about things. You guys don't realize every time in between talking football, we are constantly talking wrestling all week long with each other. So that show is going to be a lot of fun. I hope it is not a 3-hour show. Kidding. It's going to be our normal 30, 40 minutes. You guys will like it. But Other than that, we're gonna talk some TNA. Gonna preview the NXT Stand and Deliver coming up this weekend. I believe it's this Saturday morning before all of the WWE festivities. We're gonna talk some WoW. We're gonna talk some AEW, all the fun stuff that we usually do. Just told you all the places that you can go find it. Please go do that because it not only helps the show, but it helps you guys because the more this show spreads around, the better and more free it can stay for you guys. So let's start with PFL. PFL, they are in San Antonio, Texas, home of the Spurs. San Antonio, Texas, this week. Got my sheet right here in front of me. I'm just going to talk about the main event. I'm going to talk about one other fight. In the main event, you're going to see Ante Delia. Saw that guy fight twice. Very good fighter, very nice guy. Um, Sits at 24-5. He's going to take on a monster in Valentin Moldavsky. Moldavsky and Delia. That that's King Kong and that's Godzilla. That's you're not going to get two bigger heavyweights like that outside of Ngannou and Jones that are going to smash each other like those two are. In fact, Ante Delia, the last time I saw him, um, he almost won a fight with basically a blown ligament in his knee. Or he did win the fight, actually. He needed to win more points to get past him, his opponent, but he basically blew his knee out early in the fight and continued to wrestle and be all over the place. And it was incredible. Maurice Green, I believe, was his opponent. It's almost making my head hurt trying to remember that. But man, how do you pick? We know what Moldavsky can do. I know what Delia can do. Man, it's almost making my head hurt trying to pick on this one. I'm going to tell you because there are no odds posted on this for some odd reason, for some weird reason. Um, I think Ante Delia is going to find a way to do this. It may be a decision, but I think Ante is going to figure this one out against Moldavsky, and that is going to be an incredible win to put on his resume. Co-main event. Dennis Goltsov, another guy I'm familiar with, saw him fight twice. Is going to face Linton Vassell. These two heavyweights are going to just be hammers. This is the women's flyweight and men's heavyweight night is what this is going to be. Linton Vassell, no slouch whatsoever, but Dennis Goltsov is he's a bear if there ever was one. You see Dennis Goltsov in the woods, and it probably means you're doomed. Um, I got Goltsov in that one. Matchup number 3, Liz Carmouche. Kind of wish I'd have got to see her fight. She is an amazing woman, very talented, you know, title winner. She's going to face Juliana Velasquez, another name you guys have probably heard of before. I think these two, they're going to want to stand and exchange punches a lot. But at the same time, I think they both maybe want to take this to the ground and see if they can find the advantage there, because that's going to take away from what their opponent can actually do pretty well. So, man, it's hard to pick between these are all ridiculous matchups. I'm going to take Juliana Velasquez. I think she's going to find a way to do this. I think it is by decision. And I don't think it'll be unanimous decision, but it will be 29-28. It'll be something real close. Matchup number 4, Dakota Dicheva is going to face Lisa Malden. I don't know a lot about Lisa, honestly, except for that she has a 6-3 record. She is a flyweight in the women's division, and she is probably going to be the 11th person that Dakota has defeated. She is currently 10-0. So I'm going to take Dakota in that one. I don't think it is going to be as lopsided as people may make it out to be. However, I do think she's going to be able to um, take care of business. Uh, you know, Dakota's going to have an advantage here. I think that's actually the whole Main card. Those are all the ones that are on ESPN Plus and ESPN2. The rest of the card is on ESPN2. There are some fun names on the card: Blagoy Ivanov, Talia Santos, Oleg Popov. Here's the one I got to talk about. Matchup number 9 of, is it 12? 9 of 12. So it's going to be one, two, three, the fourth fight on the night. Ana Watanabe is going to face Shayna Young. Boy, this one is buried on a loaded card. My goodness. I am a big Kana Watanabe fan. I think she's a fantastic fighter. Shayna Young is no slouch as well. I just think that Kana is going to get a victory here, and she's going to push herself up in the women's flyweight division, and maybe she gets a even better matchup um, in a couple months, maybe here in Atlanta. I don't know. I haven't heard. I know each week of this session of these three for the tournament, they are in different cities. Maybe they come back here to Atlanta. I can't wait. Kind of hope they do. I look forward to it, even if it's just for one night, because the PFL there ain't no party like a PFL party. And it's a really cool fight night. Haven't been to a UFC one. I've been to Triller, and I've been to PFL, and both. Triller did it during the pandemic, so that was a little different. PFL, man, just they're so professional, they're so fun, they handle things so great. Not just because I have the hat. I want to make sure there's no bias there, but just based off my experience, they are just spectacular. But Conor Watanabe versus Shayna Young, don't be surprised if that one's really, really, really fun. Let's stick with the UFC. UFC last week we had UFC Fight Night. Aaron Blanchfield versus Manon Fiorot. I guess how you say it. She is French. One of the few languages I know a little bit about, or I guess I know the most about other than English. Um, Unanimous decision to Manon. Yeah, I got to give it that way. Manon definitely won this fight. She done more. She did more than Aaron Blanchfield did. I'm not sure if Blanchfield just the strategy didn't work or what it was. It just looked like she was just a fraction of a step from where she should be a majority of the time. It's just the way I saw it. Maybe you saw it differently. If you did, hey, once again, in the comments there. Even if you're not trying to win the hat, leave question, comment, suggestion, rating, well, all that stuff. Let me know. Maybe you saw a different fight, but the one I saw, Faro definitely was more on target than Blanchfield. Blanchfield had some good moments for sure, just not as many as Manon did, and that's just why she ended up winning the matchup. In the co-main event, Joaquin Buckley versus Vicente Luque. Vicente still looks pretty good. He's been fighting for a while. Maybe it's time to take a small break. I'm not saying he should quit because I am not going to tell a man that he should not earn a living the way he wants to earn a living. Joaquin Buckley, he needed a big time spot, and this was a good chance to shine for him. So Buckley gets the TKO victory. That was 3 minutes and 17 seconds into round number 2. And once again, Buckley is a name on the tip of the tongue of a lot of welterweights. So we'll see what that actually means somewhere down the road. Now we get to the. I'm not going to say a lot about it because by now somebody has just beaten your ears off with it. Chris Weidman versus Bruno Silva. Was it a little controversial? It might be an understatement. Weidman gets the unanimous decision. They had reversed it, or they have moved it to this. And initially, he had a TKO victory. How did it go from a TKO to unanimous decision? Okay, see if you can follow. Earlier in the fight, Chris Weidman got an eye poke on Bruno Silva. Looked incidental. Then I think that was round 1. Round 2, believe there was one there too. There was 2 early. There was they okay. Okay, second time. Okay. It's these weird gloves. I'll give part of that. I don't think Weidman's perfectly going around, he's not fighting doing this. I don't think so. Hey, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, but I don't think Chris Weidman is that. Yeah, he needs a victory. He's not gonna lower himself to do something like that. So anyway, so we go to round 3. We get past the halfway point, which is a significant time, and it looks like Chris Weidman gets another eye poke on Bruno Silva, and then another one that was back to back, one in each eye, then followed by what was the blows that ended the fight, which would make sense. If you can't see, you're probably going to either take a shot or you're going to react in a funky way, which is, I think, what Bruno Silva did. And the fight was initially ended and initially a TKO. Referee Gary Copeland, who's a very good referee, initially says the TKO. Okay, it's understandable. I don't think he saw the eye poke. He might have saw one, he didn't see the other. Maybe he didn't see either. I don't know. So this thing kind of keeps going. Weidman's still, considered the winner. And finally, the commission steps in, the local commission, because I believe it was the Las Vegas commission. Weren't they in Vegas? Were they in Vegas? No, they're in Atlantic City. So Atlantic City, that's right. They're in Vegas coming up. They're in Atlantic City. Chris Weidman is the Jersey guy. A little favoritism? Actually, I don't think so. But anyway, this goes to the commission, the athletic commission of Atlantic City and New Jersey in general. They look at this and they say, well, we can't call it a TKO because there was a foul, actually a double foul, that led to the conclusion of the matchup. We can't necessarily DQ Chris Weidman because it doesn't look like he had intent, but we got to do something. So at that point, since you make it past the halfway point of round number 3, you can look at the judges' scorecards and rule based off of the fight up to that point. I think at the point Chris Weidman had won both the first 2 rounds, so the third round didn't matter that much. But had it mattered, it could have, if they were both 1-1, and then they felt that even Silva won, they would have to reverse it to where he would win the decision. But it was a unanimous decision win for Chris Weidman. He was talking a little junk to Silva about the eye pokes and stuff like that. Take the high road, Chris. You're better than that. You know that. You got caught up in the moment, but take your win. Not necessarily by the means you want, but take your win and move on. If I was Silva, I'd want a rematch, but I doubt he's going to get it because they have bigger plans for Weidman, and we know that. Like I said, my take on, I don't think either one of them were on purpose, but man, there's 4 eye pokes, and referee didn't say anything. Didn't say anything. I didn't say see anything. He didn't say anything. To me, after the second one, or at the first one, that's your warning. At the second one, I'm considering taking a point. Or if you go back and find out that a double eye poke led to the conclusion of it, you could always take a point there, and that would actually alter the scorecards, and we'd see what would happen. It'd probably be ruled a draw at that point, which that's probably where I would lean. But it's their decision. Don't like it, don't let it go to the judges. And I hate it for Silva, but Chris Weidman gets a win. Nursultan Ruzaboev gets the TKO victory over Cedriques Dumas. Uh, Pretty solid fight. For what it was only a handful of minutes into the fight, about halfway through the first, right? And it was just a punch that turned the lights out. I mean, it is what it is at that point. Just just a smash to the head, and we're done. Good for Ruzaboev, as he'll move up the middleweight division. But man, if we only knew the fireworks that were going to happen after that. Um, Bill Algeo. A lot of people thought this was going to be his big bounce back fight. Well, he gets TKO'd by Kyle Nelson. Nice shot from Kyle Nelson. Bill Algeo is going to have to regroup. That was about a minute before the end of the first, about 3.5, 4 minutes into that one. Gets the TKO via punches. And I mean, honestly, numbers wise, they were both throwing the same amount. But in the end, the one that mattered was thrown by Kyle Nelson, and that's all it took. Uh, Nate Landwehr with a good TKO. Verna Yendroba ends up with a good decision. There was another one on here. Was it Jacob Malkoon? Jacob Malkoon with his TKO over Andre Petrosky. Thought that was a good solid performance there as well. And of course, that leads us to this weekend, which will be on Saturday, UFC Fight Night, Allen versus Curtis 2. That is in the Apex. See, I knew one of these was in Las Vegas because when they do so many, you lose track of where these things actually are. In your main event in the middleweight division, you're going to get Brendan Allen versus Chris Curtis. This is the second time they've faced. Brendan Allen is a minus 210. Chris Curtis is a plus 175. So, what does that mean? Well, that means they think it's going to be a pretty solid back and forth fight. Chris Curtis, I believe, needs this a lot more than Brendan Allen does. Brendan Allen could use the boost. Not saying he doesn't need it, but Chris Curtis at 31 and 10 needs that extra little boost up. And I think because of that, I think Chris Curtis is going to find a way to win this particular fight. I think the whole card is on ESPN Plus. I know you guys are going to ask ESPN Plus. If you're not already subscribed to ESPN Plus, you should. They got so much content that's even non-MMA. I mean, seriously, from around the world, you can watch all kinds of amazing stuff. Speaking of the co-main event, Alexander Hernandez versus Damon Jackson. Hernandez, the slight favorite, minus 210, plus 175, the exact odds of the main event. It's in the featherweight division. Um, I think the grappling is what this is going to come down to, and for some reason, I believe that Alexander Hernandez is going to be able to get on top for that one. So I'm going to take the favorite in the co-main event. Not much more to break down than that. I just think the grappling, which for people that may or if you may not be a big MMA fan, or if you're new to it, you don't quite understand what I'm saying. Somewhere between striking and groundwork is grappling, and I think that's what it's going to come down to is the in between. Morgan Charrier versus Chepe Mariscal in the featherweight division. That is right after that one. I'll be honest, I don't know much about either person. I am going to say that Morgan Charrier is going to win this one by decision. I'm gonna go with that one. Um, Ignacio Bahamondes is a minus 360 favorite over Christos Giagos. Is it Giagos or Giagos? We'll go Giagos. In the lightweight division, I think Ignacio Bahamondes is one of those big time fighters. When the lights come on, they shine the brightest. He is just on it. I think Ignacio is going to win this particular fight. Not sure how. Not even going to put a guess on it. And then also the last of the main card, Walter Walker. Honestly, since he's Brazilian, it may be Walter Walker. Is a minus 275 favorite against Lukas Brzeski, plus 225. I think Walker is the favorite for a reason. He is 11-0, but you have to watch people like Lukas Brzeski because he doesn't care what your record is. He will still do his best to take you out. I think Walker will more than likely win, but if Lucas wanted to wake up and do something pretty entertaining. Like when I think that would be just spectacular. Court McGee is also on this one. Norma Dumont is fighting Jermaine de Randami. That'll be a good fight. Cynthia Cavillo is on this one. There was another one. Melissa Mullins versus Nora Cornell to start this thing off in the bantamweight division. That's going to be a lot of fun. Um, really can't wait for this. It's going to be a fun card. It's going to be pretty much at the same time. It's going to be right after NXT Stand and Deliver and right before the first night of WrestleMania. So we will see how things go with that. Now, not to be outdone, let's go right into NXT Stand and Deliver. Some really good matchups. Um, I mean, it's starting on the pre-show with Shawn Spears versus Joe Gacy. Shawn Spears in NXT is going to be what Dijak is to NXT. He is there to not only look good in what he does, but he is also there to make others look good, and he is very much going to do that. Shawn Spears is a beyond professional, a perfect 10, if you want to call him that. Perfect 10. Hopefully you got that reference. If you didn't get that reference, then you need to be a bigger Shawn Spears fan. Um, I think they have these in a weird order, but maybe they don't, because if they actually start with Ilya Dragunov defending his NXT championship against Tony D'Angelo, then that tells you what they think about the actual main event. These two, this is a fun matchup, but the evolution we are seeing of Tony D'Angelo, I think it's his time to be the champ. I don't know what they're going to do with Dragunov, because he's a solid champ. They're not going to call him up as far as I know. There's not really anywhere for him to go unless they pair him up with some of the with Butch, or not Butch anymore, but Pete Dunne, and if they do some of that stuff maybe, or Sheamus comes back and throws them together in a faction or something. But I think Tony D'Angelo, I think it's about to be his time. He is really built up. He has a good solid group behind him. And as much as I like Dragunov, I'm starting to really like Tony D. So I'm going to stick Tony D in that one. I just think it makes more sense. Then the triple threat match for the NXT North American Championship. We get champion Oba Femi, who went from being a prospect in the tournament and winning the prospect tournament to cashing in to be a North American champion in about a week and a half. I mean, he's pretty good, but I wasn't ready for that. But he's going to take on the aforementioned Dijak and also Josh Briggs. I don't think Briggs is ready for it. If Dijak wins, that would make sense. Obafemi defeating both of them would look really good. Um, I just think Briggs should do more solo work, as much as I enjoy him and his partner, Jensen. With a little bit more work, Josh Briggs reminds me a lot of a Big Boss Man, of Ray Traylor. He does a lot of his stuff. He looks like him a lot. Um, you could definitely pick worse role models to have than Ray Traylor. I am a little biased though, because I have personal ties to him. From the same county. I've met him dozens of times before his passing. Just one of the best salt of the earth humans there was. But I like where Briggs is going. Dijak is always solid. Obafemi's probably keeping this just because I said Tony D is going to win one. I don't think they're going to make a bunch of changes with the titles. So Tony D to win the NXT Championship. Obafemi is going to keep the North American. Lyra Valkyria against Roxanne Perez for the NXT Women's Championship. If Lyra doesn't win, I'm going to start tuning out of a lot of the title stuff with Roxanne Perez, because yeah, she's probably the best they have down there. Yes, she's really young, so she's not going to get called up at the moment. But it seems like every other title match involves Roxanne Perez, and I want to see variety. You have one of the deepest rosters of female talent in wrestling in NXT. Every one of those ladies can go. And it just seems like the same three or four in the same matches all the time. And I don't like that. Gigi's one you could throw up there. There's with a little bit of work, Fallon Henley or Thea Hale. There's a lot of these coming up. I think I'm going to talk about their tag team partner. I think it's the future of the division. Um, Kiana James has been up in there before. JC Jane will need a little bit of work, but she's almost there. It's so deep that roster is there, and yet here we are again, Roxanne Perez in the thing. And like I said, I'm a big fan. I really enjoy her work. It just give me something different sometimes. It gets really old to see the same thing over and over again. Man, her versus Lara should be pretty good. I just hope they don't do it half a dozen times and really screw it up. Um, I'm gonna say just for the sake of saving, I don't know, just for the sake of saving the division for now, Valkyria to retain. Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker are going to defend their NXT Tag Team Championships against Axiom and Nathan Frazier. Corbin and Braun. At some point, Braun is going to go up to SmackDown or wherever he signed. But I don't think Axiom and Frazier are the ones they lose it to. I'm not sure what tag team it is because Briggs and Jensen aren't around anymore. There's not a lot of established teams down there. So we'll kind of see what they end up doing. Forget that. It's Gallows and Anderson. That's who should take it off of them, honestly. Actually, Corbin should get called up when Braun does. Let's be honest. Baron Corbin deserves to be up there. He's done some good stuff down here. He's kind of found a home in NXT, but he deserves to be back on the main roster. So I'm going to say Braun and Corbin are going to retain, and Gallows and Anderson will be the ones to take the belts from them. 6-woman tag team match. Thea Hale, Fallon Henley, and Kalani Jordan are going to face JC Jane, Kiana James, and Izzy Dame with Jasmine Nix. I think that's the person that's been hanging around with JC Jane. I don't really know. They haven't really gotten into it much. This is just let's see if we can get them all on the card match. I do say, Thea Hale and JC Jane are eventually going to have it out, and that's fine. Kiana, it's Izzy. I've been picking on Kalani Jordan, but I think Kalani Jordan could be the future of the division. Fallon's really good. I like her. She's like Mickey James to a point, but a little. She's got her own twist. She's not a copy. And Thea Hale, just being the fireball that she is really awesome. But I think Thea, Fallon, and Kalani are going to win this match. And like I said, Kalani Jordan in the next year, you're going to really see that star rise if she's given the opportunity. And I think they're going to give her that opportunity. I think she's a homegrown talent. I don't think she's one that was established when they brought her in. She came through the system, and I think she could be really, really good. And then lastly, if this is the main event, it would make sense because of the aftermath. But we're going to see a Carmelo Hayes versus Trick Williams. I think this is when you really see Trick emerge into the superstar that they think he can be. I think he's got a bigger ceiling than Carmelo. Carmelo might be slightly more talented, but Trick has a look. He has a demeanor about him, and this is the ultimate way for Hayes to lose. Do his buddy a favor, do the favors, and then go up to Raw or SmackDown or wherever he's going to be at, and do his own thing up there. I think it was SmackDown. Go ahead and pull him up. But I got Trick Williams in that one. And that is pretty much NXT that is all of stand and deliver. Let's go TNA a little bit. They did a knockout 4 versus 4 where it came down to Danny Luna, Steph DeLander, who showed up out of nowhere. There was another surprise appearance coming later, versus Rosemary versus Zaya Brookside. What happened was there's a 4-on-4. The winning team of the 4-on-4 becomes a fatal 4-way to determine the number 1 contender. Steph DeLander ends up getting this because it came down to her and I believe Rosemary. And it had a lot to do with Isaiah Brookside and Danny Luna were on the outside, and Matt Cardona, who was on AEW this week, we'll talk about that. And he was also in TNA, and he helped Steph DeLander, who is his one of his cohorts in the NWA and on the indie scene. Looks like they're going to pair up. I think that's a good pairing, by the way. But Steph DeLander now the number one contender for the Jordan Grace Women's Knockout title, and Matt Cardona back in TNA. It wouldn't surprise me if a at some point he gets a title run because he definitely deserves it. Uh, the whole thing with Diener, where the crowd are going to decide what he does, is going to be pretty entertaining. I like this whole angle that they've come up with. Of all the goofy things they come up with, I think this is one of the better ones. And so right now, the Grizzled Young Veterans are enjoying beating the crap out of him every week. So we'll see what happens because I think at the end, Diener is on a similar path to um, his former mentor in Eric Young. That Eric used to do a similar thing. It wasn't where the crowd decided, but he just was on a similar path where he just had to really start at the bottom and earn his way back up. And it made him a superstar by the time he came back up. Josh Alexander took on Tracy Williams. Fantastic match. Tracy Williams is a great submission technician in the ring. Him and Josh Alexander tore each other apart. Josh Alexander ends up winning. Of course, Hammerstone comes down. Hammerstone is untapped potential. He was going to sign somewhere out of MLW. TNA ended up being the home. So great pickup there. He's going to battle Josh Alexander a bunch to start with. That's just going to raise his stock to where he's not just a guy that just come in. It's going to be like when Nick Nemeth come across. Is that he comes up here and he's up here immediately. Hammerstone is right here in the middle. He's going to be a big guy down the road for them. That match wasn't that amazing. I'm not going to bore you with that. Laredo Kid making some cool comments about what everything means to him. I think that's fantastic. And then Macklin gets a big win over Chris Sabin. But newsflash, everybody that doesn't know, there was a small shindig at the end of the TNA tapings here recently where Sabin and Shelley were honored. They were the guest of honor because I think they're pretty much done with the company. The Motor City Machine Guns are going to move on. Their contracts are up. And so expect to see Shelley and Sabin maybe split on screen and also to not win as much as usual. But Macklin picks up a much needed win there. It was a great main event. I mean, Sabin is just that Swiss Army knife. He can just go with anybody. That leads to wow. And I'll tell you right now, the person that will win you the PFL hat that I showed you a while ago is not going to be mentioned in this right here because she was not on this week's show. So you know it's not none of the people I'm about to name. See if you can figure it out. Uh, Team Spirit of Ariel Sky, Sasha Sparks, and Pep Riley all came out to be confronted by Top Tier, which is Coach Campanelli, Candy Crush, and Gloria Glitter. That just set up the main event. We'll get to it in a minute. Exodus and Ice Cold took on Santana Garrett and Americana. Once again, Exodus and Ice Cold can't get on the same page. Once again, they kind of go at each other. Looks like that trio is going to split sooner rather than later. Santana Garrett and Americana get a good win. I think at some point they're going to get another. They're going to get another match with their nemesis or nemesi, I guess, here soon. But it was a good match. I mean, all four of these ladies can really work, and it was. I mean, Santana Garrett is a veteran and a half, and Americana is like an early version of her. So that's a good tandem. Another one of my favorites, BK Rhythm, with her cohorts of Gigi Gianni and Little J Boogie. It's an interesting trio. Took on Holiday. It's just a veteran and a half. I might be insulting her calling her a veteran. Still just amazing. Still really good in what she does. She ends up with the win actually, but then BK Rhythm and crew attack her only for some people to come out and help her out a little bit there. And she was a little surprised by the people that came out. So we'll kind of see if Holiday kind of flips a new leaf, or if something she stays on on the darker side of things, but it was a good match. Not one of BK Rhythm's better rhymes. It was okay. BK, you can do better. You know you can do better. But the Pride of New Orleans, I believe it was New Orleans, Louisiana, either way, uh, you'll do better. Then they tried to make this out to be the greatest like mismatched tandem there ever was of Katrina Jinx and Goldie uh, uh, Collins. They tried to do the cat and dog pair, and he didn't build it at all. This was a random. I don't know how they ended up against the Mother Truckers in a title match, but you had to get the Mother Truckers a good defense early. This was definitely one. It was a good match because Katrina and Goldie are really good workers, possibly a little better than the Mother Truckers anyway. But that mismatched team just didn't stand a chance for an established team. Beast came out, said, "Give me my rematch," because they determined that the brass knuckles that they found were not hers. In fact, so she said, "Give me my rematch," and so I believe David is going to do that. And then finally, Top Tier took on Team Spirit and through some underhandedness as usual. Top Tier, who didn't need it, they are more talented. Uh, but Top Tier ends up beating Team Spirit. I think at some point Team Spirit's going to get the upper hand. There are a lot of young talent, a lot of really good people. The Aerial Sky leading it is going to be quite different than when Coach led it. But otherwise, just uh, just spectacular as far as the in ring work. Let's finish up with some AEW. Let's start with AEW Dynamite. I actually watched them in super crazy order because it was that weird of a week. They opened up AEW Dynamite with Will Ospreay versus Shibata. I've seen this in New Japan a couple times, or maybe once. I think only once. This was a while back. It was really good then. This is off the charts. Clay Harden, who co-hosts the Fabulous Wrestling Talk AEW with me, he texted me as soon as this match was over, and he said Will Ospreay and Shibata just blew the roof off this place, off the building they're in, and it did not disappoint. Just unreal matchup. So glad we got to see it one more good time. Osprey is going to take on Hobbs this week. One of his family members. He's not going to stick with Don Callis. There's no reason for him to do that. Um, like it doesn't even make dumb sense. But Osprey versus Shibata, those are two of the best, and they did not hold back. Just absolutely incredible. I'm gonna run out of words tonight to describe the action. Young Bucks took on Private Party as part of the tournament. At no time did I ever think Private Party was going to win this. Young Bucks are in the finals. I think it's going to be them and FTR, if I'm not mistaken. We'll talk about that later in the thing. But Young Bucks, it's a good story they're doing here where they're the executives that are just wrestling, and they're not using that as an advantage yet, but they will soon. Um, Willow took on Sky Blue and Statlander and Anna Jay to be the number one contender to Julia's title. Willow gets the win. It made the most sense. For one, Sky Blue is her cohort, is Julia's cohort. It was either going to be Willow or Statlander. Anna Jay, incredible ring work. I just said incredible again. Really good ring work. Anna Jay is getting better and better and better each night. And that's not one of those, well, she couldn't get worse. Oh, she could have, because she's always been pretty good. She is getting on a better than good level. And it's good to see a Georgia Peach doing well. But Willow gets the win. It will be Julia and Willow. Monet was down there. Mercedes Monet was down there. At some point, she's going to fit into this, but you can't just waltz in and get title matches. I mean, I know everybody else does that, but at least AEW is not doing that. Best Friends took on OGK with Roderick Strong in a tournament match. Best Friends end up in the win for that one. I believe the Young Bucks will now take on the Best Friends. I may be ahead of myself, but I'm pretty sure Young Bucks versus FTR makes the most sense for tag team. Um, Good match. Chucky T was on the outside. He should be back from injury pretty soon, but Orange and Trent always hold down the best friends really well, and they beat the OGK, which is not an easy feat. That is an that might be one of the best tag teams in AEW. They're the current Ring of Honor champs too. I mean, Swerve with Princess Nana took on uh Takeshita with Don Callis. This is for a number one contendership spot for Samoa Joe's title. I'm here to tell you, they built Takeshita to be this big, brutal monster, and then they let him face people like Osprey and show you kind of his lucha. It's not necessarily lucha style, but that style where he can move around and be quick and all that kind of stuff. And then you put him against Swerve, and him and Swerve, it was main event just level. Swerve by far should be the next champ, and we all know that. But Takeshita has jumped up the ranks a good bit. He might be borderline the top of the middle card and just under being main event. He showed between Osprey and Swerve that he could be a main event player down the road. I don't know that Don Callis is helping him at all unless it's backstage politics. Takeshita could probably do this on his own. He can talk pretty good. Uh, that led us to AEW Rampage, where Dustin and the Butcher had a big grudge match. It was one of my favorite matches of the week. Those two are spectacular, and together it was brutal, and they just beat the crap out of each other with Dustin getting the win in that one. Bullet Club Gold decided to visit Billy Gunn's house. Billy Gunn finds him at the very end. It looks really weird. I don't like when we get into these kind of things, but Billy let him know how he felt on Collision, which is kind of weird because that was only a day later. Deonna Purrazzo took on a wrestler by the name of Rose. Purrazzo easily took care of Rose, who tried to hold her own, but Deonna Purrazzo is one of the best in the world. Tony Storm come out only to tell us that she would not wrestle, that Mariah May is going to, and she took on a female wrestler by the name of Nikita. Nikita fared about as well against Mariah May as Rose did against Purrazzo. It's just leading up to Tony. It's going to be Purrazzo versus Mariah May. Then it's going to be Purrazzo versus Tony Storm again. It's going to be really, really good. Um, they featured the Righteous. They were out in the desert and did a pretty cool promo. I do think that the Righteous could do some fun things down the road besides team with Lance Archer for random three ways, triple threats, or no, 3-on-3s, trios. That's the word I'm looking for. Uh, the Righteous are one of those untapped potential teams. I know I've said that a lot. That may be tonight's show, untapped potential. But need to feature the Righteous and Lance Archer a lot more. Roderick Strong with the OGK took on Daddy Magic Matt Menard. Menard, man, he has been bringing it lately, right? He has been bringing it. And I don't know what's really gotten into him. He's always been much of a tag wrestler, but suddenly, man, he is like, and he was wrestling in I believe Toronto, where he's from, for this, and he was putting on a show for the home crowd. I wish he would wrestle more like that everywhere. Or if that's the case, then he needs to find a promotion that's in Toronto all the time and just wrestle for them. Of course, Roderick Strong ends up, because of some interference, catching him with the knee, ended up with a win there. But hey, Matt Menard, you get my vote there for the effort. Just really, really great. AEW Collision opens up with Adam Copeland with an open challenge to defend his title. Here comes Matt Cardona. Yep, Matt Cardona. And these two, Cardona used to be an Edge Chad, or one of Edge's little underlings for a minute. It was Brian Myers and Matt Cardona before they were who they were. Zack Ryder, and I forgot who Brian Myers used to be in WWE. But they were the first little underlings of Edge when he made his faction. So to see these two wrestle again after so many years, so great. It's just amazing. Of course, Adam Copeland retains. Hopefully Matt Cardona sticks around more than a little bit, just like in TNA. I hope it wasn't just one-offs. The more amazing thing is that Malachi Black basically looks like he says, "I'm next for that belt, Mr. Copeland." And that match is has the potential to steal any show that it happens to be on. Um, Other people involved at the end of this were Buddy Matthews, uh, Briscoe, and Eddie Kingston. Not sure if it ends up a 3-on-3 or something like that, but uh, you know, Copeland and Cardona were great. Having Malachi be the next guy to challenge, I think is just going to make it that much better. And you got the Acclaimed who came out. That's when I said when Billy addressed everything, and oh, they're so mad, and don't come to my house, and boys, you want. Okay. I want to see where this is going because I hope Bullet Club Gold ends up on the top end of it. I think they have a better ceiling right now than the Acclaim. The Acclaim had a good run. I think it's time to maybe split that trio up. Just leave it where it's the Acclaimed. Billy can ride off in the sunset, and Bullet Club Gold can elevate to another level. Maybe in time for Juice Robinson to come back. We got to see FTR versus the Infantry as part of the tournament. FTR, of course, ends up getting this, but the Infantry are a really good team. I appreciated the respect they had for FTR and wanting to challenge them as much as they did. But FTR is just that good, man. And FTR is going to face, I'm going to skip ahead, Top Flight, who beat Big Bill and Ricky Starks. It looked like Starks might have got dinged up at the end of that one. It did not have anything to do with the end of it. It just was towards the end. It looked like he took a shot that he landed on his shoulder or something, maybe, and that'd be interesting to look at. But I think that was part of the tournament, and it's going to be FTR and Top Flight. On that side, FTR and the Young Bucks. We know that. Thunder Rosa took on Lady Frost. This was one of my favorite collision matchups outside of Cardona Copeland because Lady Frost is, there we go, another untapped potential. Uh, Lots of talent. Lots of talent for Lady Frost. I've seen her face all kinds of people on all kinds of TV shows, and Thunder Rosa is always pretty solid. This was a really, really good match. Thunder Rosa gets the win. Shout out Lady Frost for the performance. The Righteous and Lance Archer. Told you I'd mention them. Took on Shibata, Claudio Castagnoli, and Brian Danielson. Obviously, Shibata, Danielson, and Claudio end up with the win, but hey, these six had some really good spots. They really know how to wrestle. It still baffles me why Lance Archer is not world champion somewhere. He's just that good, and he's so big and talented. Like I said, the Righteous, I'm a big fan of that tag team. I mean, I don't have anything against Shibata, Claudio, and Danielson. Just, you know, I don't understand why their opponents don't get to do that they do. Other than that, I don't have anything this weekend for the first time in a while outside of watching WrestleMania on Saturday night and Sunday night. Me and Daniel will be here tomorrow night to talk about that and preview everything WrestleMania. We're going to talk about both nights, what you should watch, what we think is going to be really cool, and maybe what we're going to watch. Although I'm pretty sure I will be at someone's house one way or the other, whether it be mine or elsewhere. So I can't necessarily tell you where I'm going to be, but we'll tell you all the ways that you can watch. Next Deep South Wrestling show, by the way, next Sunday, a week from this Sunday, next Sunday, that is April 14th. That is Das Barbecue, as DASBBQ. That is right next to Grant Park. I'm going to be there. Come by and say hello. Come by and say hello for real. I hope to see you guys there. I believe that John from here at Impact Media is going to be there as well. I think we're still waiting to confirm that. But come say hey to us. We're not big stars or nothing like that, but come say hey to us. Maybe we'll introduce you to a big star because Deep South Wrestling has tons and tons of them. But other than that, it's been another great edition of Strong Style. I'm your host, Jeremy the Impact York. We will see you guys next week. Go watch wrestling. Go watch fighting. Deuces, gooses.